in a sneak and show mirror in the semifinals. Huey Jensen defeated a couple shardless bug decks in the top 8 to get here to the finals. And Brad leads things off as our top seed on the play.
Well, you say on the play, but BVD had decided that being on the draw was better in the mirror match. I spoke on the sidelines with Justin Parnell, who had helped BVD out, and they determined that in this mirror match, it's actually often whoever goes for it first loses because, you know, you fight a counter war over it. You have all these Force of Wills and Spell Pierces, and you expend your resources trying to go for it, and then whoever goes for it second actually still has resources left. That's why being on the draw, BVD decided was better.
Interesting. So Brad led things off with a Gitaxian Probe. We saw Huey's hand was a bunch of lands. He had a Preordain, a Ponder, and a Daze in there. He's casting the Ponder here for his first play of the game, and he's found a Force of Will. I believe he's also drawn a second copy of Ponder.
So we have an answer from Twitter that I believe is correct. Jeremy Sparkman saying that the records shown in Legacy are their records in played matches. So that means Brad Nelson started off with 1 bye and Huey Jensen started off with 2 byes, and those were not reflected in their records because they didn't win those matches, although they counted as 3 points for their point total.
I see, that makes sense. So
thanks for hanging out, Jeremy Sparkman, and you can join the conversation as well on Twitter. Hashtag SCGINVI, INVI, you see in the bottom right corner of your screen is where you can reach us.
Volcanic Islands, the play for both players on turn 2, and Huey's going to go ahead and preordain now. Huey with the library manipulation found another copy of Force of Will. He's going to go ahead and draw that, put the other card on the bottom, and
so Huey is
sculpting a hand of a lot of counter magic,
which the Star City, the Roanoke crew is not playing preordained, so just a little bit of extra manipulation in his deck at the cost of what? Counter magic, is it?
I'm not sure. We'll take a look at that. Looks like a Ponder just finished resolving from Huey, and he is shuffling. Decides he doesn't like what's left on top.
So another difference is that Huey is running 2 copies of Daze in his deck.
So he's got
Brad
Daze
Nelson is
and
not.
Preordain.
0 Dazes. He does have 1 fewer copy of Spell Pierce, 3 Spell Pierces versus 4 for Brad Nelson.
Gitaxian Probe is the card missing from Huey's
completely
list
missing
compared to Brad Nelson. So Brad valuing the information
and the card draw
off of Gitaxian Probe, but Huey valuing the library manipulation with Preordain.
And counter magic, 2 Dazes, and also 2 main deck misdirections.
So this is scary. Looks like Brad's gone for a show and tell here. He's got a Lotus Petal in play to pay for a Daze, because he did actually see a Daze earlier. And Huey's going to go ahead and Daze it, and Brad says, all right, I'm not going to pay. So he wants to keep that Lotus Petal around. But what I was going to say, the scary part is casting and resolving show and tell against a deck that wants to cast and resolve show and tell. This is a symmetrical effect. So you may be just doing the work for your opponent, and if you both put Emrakul into play, your opponent's going to be the first one to attack with him.
Correct. You are not casting the Emrakul, you're putting it on the battlefield, so you don't get that trigger for the extra turn. No haste off of show and tell, unlike sneak attack or through the breach. But Brad's got the follow-up. He's got the sneak attack as follow-up on the next turn after the show and tell was dazed. And now Huey is going to counter with a Force of Will. Brad just has no
counter
action.
Magic. Yeah, he's got all action really. He just has no action, no counter magic,
sorry.
no way to protect his stuff. He's got he had a pair of sneak attacks. He went ahead and cast one there, and it was Force of Will. He does have a second copy of Sneak Attack, along with an Emrakul and a Gristlebrand in hand right now. That's Brad's hand. He's got threat and way to cheat it into play, just no way to protect it. So,
preordained by Huey, scries 2 cards to the bottom, and then he drew Gristlebrand and plays a Scalding Tarn now.
So Huey's had a show and tell for quite a while here.
And
now we're going to have a Sneak Attack. That is going to be Force of Willed by Huey Jensen. So Huey with all the counter magic, Brad with all the ways of getting his threats into play, but the counter magic is is winning that war. And Brad finds a Ponder. He's going to go ahead and cast that here.
Yeah, Huey fading 3 spells here, a show and tell and 2 sneak attacks with counter spells. First a Daze and then 2 Force of Wills.
Brainstorm from Brad off of that Ponder. He's got a City of Traders, he's got a Lotus Petal, he's got a Scalding Tarn. Also in his hand, a Gristlebrand and an Emrakul, one of each of the powerhouse threats in the Sneak and Show deck. Brad just needs to get them into play. Of course, William Huey Jensen over there on the right is on the same exact plan as far as getting those guys into play as his win condition. Huey's going to go ahead and play a Lotus Petal. Pass the turn. Brad's going to crack a Misty Rainforest to shuffle away some cards that were on the top of his library, put back by Brainstorm. He finds a basic island.
Legacy Open players, your round 6 pairings are being posted.
Yeah, so if that theory of BVDs holds true, Brad Nelson on the play and then going for it first 3 times, 3 turns in a row, in fact.
Bodes well for Huey then.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I mean, he's
we'll see
used
how
his counter spells, and Brad clearly has had no counter spells to fire back with. Otherwise, he would have countered and had his spell resolve.
And now he's got some counter spells. He just cast a Brainstorm off the top, Force of Will, Spell Pierce, and a Gitaxian Probe. So he's got 2 counter spells and a draw spell. He's going to go ahead and put a couple cards back. He puts Emrakul and Scalding Tarn back in that order. So Emrakul second from the bottom, Scalding Tarn on the top.
Favorable timing here by Brad Nelson on his counter spells because he's got them at the ready. Huey has
the same hand as Brad. Emrakul, Gristlebrand, and then he's got a Daze, whereas Brad has Emrakul, Gristlebrand, Force of Will, and Spell Pierce now, but those are both fresh cards in his hand.
Jensen needs to find a Brainstorm so he can put that Daze back onto his library and then sacrifice his Scalding Tarn to get rid of it. It's getting pretty useless at this point. Brad Nelson with 5 lands, now searching for his 6th, and a Lotus Petal. So the 1-mana Force Spike effect of Daze unlikely to have an effect.
Yeah, later it gets, the worse Daze gets. It all really depends on how close your opponent gets to tapping out. Because it can still be good late if somebody's going to tap out for a large threat or something, but in this particular matchup, it makes a lot more sense to shuffle away that Daze at this point in the game.
Brad draws another Force of Will after shuffling his library with the Scalding Tarn.
So Brad has right now Gristlebrand in hand. I believe he shuffled away the Emrakul. So he's got Gristlebrand, 2 Force of Will, and a Spell Pierce in hand. Huey with a Daze, a Gristlebrand, and an Emrakul last time we saw his hand.
Has he drawn a sneak attack?
Looks like he has drawn a sneak attack. And that doesn't work there. He's going to go ahead and cast a sneak attack though.
But Brad Nelson has had too much time. Hard cast a
Force of Will.
And that's how bad Daze is right now. You can't even catch a hard cast Force of Will.
Yeah. So Gitaxian Probe from Brad. Huey says, yeah, here's my cards. Brad's like, yeah, I already knew what they were. Brad just wanted to draw a card there with the probe.
There you go. Brainstorm, get rid of the Daze. Let's see if he can draw any other action, Huey Jensen.
Yeah, would like to replace that Daze with something a little more relevant at this stage of the game.
Brad's
so Brainstorm, and Brad says force. Did he learn something from last game, or is this just the way he's been playing all weekend? Ponder from Brad on his turn. Finds a sneak attack, finds an Emrakul, finds a Misty Rainforest. He's going to put the sneak attack on the top. I believe the Emrakul is the next card down. So he draws. He's already seen Huey's hand
multiple times. And knows that Brainstorm was fresh. Coast is clear.
Sneak attack.
Huey will probably just Daze for misclick value. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen here. But on Magic Online, you just do this and hope that your opponent misclicks.
So Daze, Brad's going to pay for it. He's going to go ahead.
Yep.
And Emrakul sneaks into play somehow. A giant spaghetti monster just sneaking around.
And then Brad shows that he already has the follow-up next turn with the Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
So Huey had 1 draw step, which there's no way he can find anything that will stop that.
So Brad Nelson takes game 1 from Huey Jensen here in the finals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational.
You have 15 minutes. You may begin.
They're going to look at each other's deck lists again for sideboarding, see what the plan is. We're going to look at their deck list in just a moment and see what they're going to sideboard. But in the meantime, it's trivia time. And this is the finals of the Invitational here in Indianapolis. So we are giving out 12 months of free premium to the hashtag on your screen. It will be on there in just a moment, but it is hashtag SCG Premium.
There it is.
And Joey Pasco is going to have a trivia question for us.
That's right. So our question, this one's a little more difficult, but you can find the answer pretty easily, I think. We've a lot of times for the Open and the Invitational, of course, have special guests at the Star City events. And
like us?
Not like us. We just do the
We're
coverage.
just regular guests.
We're just regular guests. That's right.
All right, fair enough.
But we have people like, Magic the Gathering artists in attendance. And in this case, at the Invitational, we've got a Magic the Gathering artist here. This artist is also going to be in attendance at our next Open Series next weekend in Los Angeles.
That's right. Los Angeles, featuring Kamikaze. It's actually a huge expo down there. In addition to the Open, we've been invited out to be a part of that and run all their Magic events along with a full Open weekend.
So so all of that happening next week. This artist is going to be there. He's also here.
Yep.
Who is that artist?
Okay, so if you know the answer to that question, tweet at us at hashtag SCG Premium. It is not about speed, it's about accuracy, to be correct. So make sure you know who this artist is. He is here this weekend, and it will also be there next weekend in Los Angeles. Tweet at that hashtag. We will choose a random correct answer for the winner of 12 months of free premium. And now we will turn to the sideboards, Joey Pasco.
Yes. So we're going into game 2 of 5. If you're just tuning in, these matches are 5 games long, so being down a game, not such a handicap here for Huey.
It's always a handicap.
Well, it's not as big of a handicap as if it were 3 games.
So how are they going to craft this? You watched a show and tell, a sneak and show mirror match in the semifinals along with Adrian, and in fact it featured Brad Nelson defeating Brian Braun-Duin. What did his plan look like there?
Well, both of these guys have red elemental blasts in their board. Brad has 1, Huey has 2. Both of those guys are going to bring those in. 2 copies of Through the Breach in each of their boards. Both of those are coming in for both of them. Those are probably the number 1 cards. The Through the Breach, the red elemental blast. Swan Song, a card that is in Brad's list, not in Huey's list, also likely to come in. Now, Swan Songs can counter, 3 different card types, is that right?
Yes,
Ricky?
Sorcery, Instant, Enchantment.
So, Sorcery, Instant, Enchantment counters Brainstorms, counters Ponders, counters Sneak Attack, counters Show and Tell, counters Through the Breach.
Everything.
Counters pretty much every spell that the Sneak and Show deck wants to cast.
Everything but Lotus Petal and the giant monsters.
Right.
Which are almost never getting cast.
If they're casting the giant monsters, you've
lost.
Obviously,
can't be countered.
Something is going on here. Right. It couldn't, even if it said creatures, it couldn't counter Emrakul. So Swan Song, very, very good in this matchup as well. So we're going to see those come in. Other than that, possibly the wipe away from Brad Nelson to deal with, to find a way to deal with a sneak attack that's already resolved. But
even though it has split second, your opponent has the first opportunity after a spell resolves, so they will activate sneak attack.
Right. So it's not as quick as you want it to be.
No.
Split second, not fast enough.
Not fast enough.
But if you've somehow managed to survive, so we've seen these players cast a naked sneak attack before, where I say naked. I just mean a sneak attack without a threat backing it up.
Sure.
It's not sneak attack into the combo.
It may be because they use all their mana or they haven't drawn their creature
Exactly.
yet.
So a wipe away is an uncounterable way of dealing with a resolved sneak attack.
Okay.
If you're still alive to cast a wipe away and have the means to cast it. So I can see that being a reasonable plan. Pyroclast, I'm not going to do anything. Jace the Mind Sculptor Is that what you were going to go for?
Yeah, because I have heard varying opinions on this, whether Jace the Mind Sculptor is good in the mirror match or not. So we will see here whether Huey Jensen thinks that Jace the Mind Sculptor is good in the mirror match and good enough to bring in. Or maybe he originally thought it was good enough and over the course of the weekend has discovered it is not. So we'll find out, I'm sure, at some point during the next few games.
So Huey on the play here. He's going to play a Misty Rainforest and immediately pass to Brad. Brad leads with a Volcanic Island, passes back to Huey.
So
Sneak attack off the top for Huey.
Huey deciding to be on the play again. BBD seems to be the only one championing being on the draw in the Sneak and Show mirror match.
Lotus Petal from Brad. It resolves. Gitaxian Probe from Brad to follow up the Lotus Petal. 2 free spells this turn for Brad. Storm count is 2. That is not relevant in this match. So Gitaxian Probe resolves. We've got City of Traders, Red Elemental Blast, Through the Breach, Force of Will, Sneak Attack, Island. So that Force of Will is a little lackluster here in that it can only be hard cast until Huey finds another blue card. He does, however, have access to a counterspell in the form of Red Elemental Blast. He can use that Misty Rainforest to find a Volcanic Island and use that to cast the Red Blast if he needs to counter something. But right now, Brad only needs to play around the Red Blast.
Which means if his solution here is Sneak Attack or Through the Breach.
And that's exactly what he's going for here. It looks like 4 mana, Sneak Attack, and it resolves.
It's naked.
It is a naked Sneak Attack. But let's see, what is Huey's top card? He's thinking about cracking that fetch, maybe?
So Brad Nelson, the Gitaxian Probes in his deck that Huey does not have, using that information to let him know that the coast is clear to play a Sneak Attack on his turn.
So Misty Rainforest was the draw from Huey. Brad does not know that, but at this point, with the Sneak Attack on the table, Brad's got to be feeling pretty good if he's got something that he can drop into play. Now, he just top-decked Gristlebrand. I don't know if he had anything previously, but Gristlebrand is now on the table with a Sneak Attack. Brad, going to go to town, grab some cards off the top.
Yep, just looking to finish it off with an Emrakul and a red mana source. There's the Emrakul and there's the red mana source.
Yeah. And
shows.
There
and
it is.
Scoops.
Show and tell without the show and tell. Sneak and show. Sneak attack gets Gristlebrand into play. Finds Brad that red mana source he needed to activate the sneak attack a second time. Also found the Emrakul, as you mentioned. Emrakul comes down. Both guys are going to attack. They're dead at the end of turn, but so is Huey Jensen. So Brad takes game 2 in blistering fashion here in the finals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series, featuring the Invitational, coming to you guys live from Indianapolis. I'm Joey Pasco, joined in the booth by Ricky Hayashi, and Brad Nelson now in great shape. He's got to be feeling pretty good. Up 2-0 over Huey Jensen. Huey now cannot let Brad win another game.
I want to know what Huey Jensen went back to a sideboard for. So after game number 2, he pulled out a sideboard again, and it looks like he switched some cards out. I'm wondering if maybe he had put Jace the Mind Sculptor in, because that was kind of the conventional wisdom coming in, but realizing that the game just finished too quickly for Jace to matter to take over the game right there.
Or you could maybe look at it from the other side and think maybe he wants more blue cards in the deck. As silly as that sounds, you saw that Force of Will was in his hand, and he couldn't do anything with it. So maybe he thought, I'll bring in Jace, because it seems like a silly reason, but we're just speculating here.
No, good point, because he would have boarded in the red Elemental Blast and through the breach for red cards for most likely 4 blue cards. I mean, perhaps all of his show and tells, or some mix of show and tell and some of his other counter magic or library manipulation. So that's actually a consideration for sideboard games, is reducing your blue spell count too much.
So if you guys want to interact with us a bit on Twitter, you certainly can. Tweet at SCG Live and include the hashtag SCGINVI. We're keeping track of both of those Well, the hashtag and, of course, the mentions on SCG Live. Like to interact with you guys. So
All right.
Huey Jensen down 2 games to Brad Nelson, needs to rally here, and he's going to need to win 3 consecutive games here if he wants to have his face on an invitational or on a token. He's going to lead things off with a ponder.
Do we know what tokens these guys want to make?
We don't know for sure, although Brad, I believe, has mentioned a potential GOAT token.
Of course.
And I've speculated the Giant token for Huey Jensen.
Like a 5/5 Giant for Feud Killer's verdict?
I don't know. I just, you look at Huey, you think he's pretty tall guy. Giant seems he's a gentle giant. I kind of get that kind of vibe from him. Seems like a good choice, but haven't talked to Huey myself.
The 9/9 Golem from the Titan Forge. If you're gonna go big.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you can try to convince Huey. So a ponder from Brad to match Huey's.
He has to win first.
Yeah, that's right.
He has to win 3 games
in a row here. He has to win 3 times before Brad wins another game.
Hey, it's happened before.
It
and
certainly
it's a mirror
has.
match. I mean, anything can happen here.
Absolutely. Huey gonna continue to sculpt his hand with a turn 2 preordain. Gonna play a Scalding Tarn and pass back. Brad seemingly very aggressive, at least in comparing these 2 players and what we've seen so far in the first 2 games. Brad, very aggressive with the way he plays, very proactive. Huey seems to like to sculpt his hand quite a bit more before pulling the trigger. So there you see a Gitaxian Probe. Brad able to be more aggressive because of this exact card. Gitaxian Probe is giving him this information, and we're going to see what does Huey got. He's got Daze, he's got Ponder, Misty Rainforest, Show and Tell, Red Elemental Blast, and a Sneak Attack.
Yeah, you said it, Joey. In game number 2, Brad Nelson did this. He looked with a Gitaxian Probe, saw the coast was clear, and just used all his resources to get a sneak attack on the table, and then Huey was unable to do anything. Lets Brad untap and get Gristlebrand, followed up by Emrakul.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Red Elemental Blast is excellent against this deck, but it does not counter Sneak Attack itself. So if you're getting into a war over Sneak Attack, you need another counter spell. Then you can use your Red Blast to fight the counter war if your counter spell is being countered. Oh, it sounds like Huey is interested in being a wave token, the elemental token for Master of Waves.
Interesting.
Very interesting choice.
I wonder if he surfs.
I don't know.
Getting a token art of him on a surfboard would be awesome. All right, let's do it. 3 more games. That's all.
Gotta
that's
win
all.
3 more.
Well,
a lot of people rooting for the GOAT token as well, which I guess bodes well for Brad as far as.
Sure, let us know.
Fans,
Hashtag SCGINVI, INVI. Who do you want to see win this? Primarily for the token reason. I mean, everyone has their personal preference, I feel. These players are very well known, have fans nationwide, worldwide.
So Misty Rainforest for Brad is going to find a volcanic island. He's going to play a City of Traders, and here comes Sneak Attack.
Goes for it.
Will this be it? Will this be it? Does Huey have a counterspell? We know he has a Daze. We know he has a Red Elemental Blast. Did he draw anything since then? He's got a Brainstorm. He's got a Ponder. But his only counterspells are Red Elemental Blast and Daze. Brad can pay for the Daze, and Red Elemental Blast will do nothing here against a Sneak Attack. So Brainstorm is the only play available to Huey here, and Brad is... It's on Brad. Does the Brainstorm resolve?
This could be it right
now, Brad,
here.
I can see, has no counterspells of his own at the moment, so that Brainstorm will resolve. Does Huey Brainstorm out of this? He finds a Brainstorm, he finds a Sneak Attack, and he found an Emrakul.
So he's going to have to Brainstorm again to keep looking.
He is. He's got a fetch land. He's got 2 fetch lands, so he can refresh the top of his library. He is not out of this yet.
But
also,
first, he's got to think about what he puts back.
Yes.
So Sneak Attack, he already has 1 copy of that. Probably wants to keep that Red Elemental Blast if he thinks that Brad Nelson might have a counterspell here.
Show and Tell is one of the cards that is in his hand, and he could think about putting that back since he does have another way of getting his guys into play, but I don't know. That's a little scary. He's going to put a Ponder back. because the Ponder
Okay.
obviously not going to help him here.
If he doesn't win here,
sorcery speed, he can't cast it. So he's going to crack one fetch land here.
Okay, Scalding Tarn goes to the graveyard. Volcanic Island. Gonna brainstorm again. He still has one more fetch land, so looking for a Force of Will or a Spell Pierce. Another copy of Daze would do it as well.
So just if you guys were watching the semifinals, Brad pretty good at shuffling his opponent's deck and giving them not what they're looking for.
Brainstorm.
He gives them a lot of library
through the
manipulation, but he does not give them what they're looking for.
So now he has to crack his third fetch land, Brainstorm again.
Wow.
And
This is
but
tense.
that will cut down his outs. Spell Pierce no longer an out because he's going to have to tap all his mana. So then he's going to be on looking for Force of Will or still a second copy of Daze.
All right, so
This
Huey
is tense, going all the way to the final fetch land.
seems to have decided to put back a Through the Breach and an Emrakul, which are going to be shuffled away.
Ben on Twitter at Almsby saying, I'm looking forward to using a new goat token for Springjack Pasture. It's not over yet, Ben. Don't count your goats.
He's going to go ahead and cast Daze. Brad's going to pay for it. All right, now Huey. He says that's still in the stack,
still
I
in the
think,
stack. So he dazed first. Dazed first to force Brad Nelson to commit that Lotus Petal mana.
Yeah, Brad not able to activate the sneak attack this turn, even if it resolves. I believe the land for the turn was City of Traders.
Yeah, he would have to cast Daze first anyway, because if he casts Force of Will first, Brad Nelson can use a Spell
Brainstorm.
Pierce.
That third Brainstorm, and he
Oh
finds
my goodness.
Jace the Mind Sculptor Island, and I think it was another Through the Breach. And wow, Brad is good at giving his opponents Through the Breach when that is not the card they want. It's amazing.
But Brad Nelson was forced to use his
Yes.
Lotus Petal, so he couldn't activate
There's
his sneak
Brad
attack. Yeah.
with the fingers. That's Brad's special move. When he feels like he's got his opponent on the ropes, he just has to hope. We're going to have a show and tell.
here.
Brad says show and tell on the stack. He's got a Gristlebrand.
So
Huey has an Emrakul. So show
so
and
yeah,
tell is
Huey
going
is
to resolve.
hoping.
Huey says go.
So
Brad
Huey,
starts the turn with an with a Gristlebrand in play. Huey ends his turn with an Emrakul in play. Can Brad find an Emrakul in the top 7?
really the top 14.
Yeah, really the top 14. You're right, and he's going. He has to go.
Oh wow! So both
7
of them
more.
are running on fumes and blanks here.
Yeah, and Through the Breach is there.
he
I
miss?
don't think
Did he?
I think he missed.
Missed on 14 draws to find another
14
Emrakul.
cards,
But
no
he does
Emrakul.
have a Gitaxian Probe and a
Right.
few other library manipulations.
He can draw one more card with that Gitaxian Probe unless he wants to pay mana for it.
Oh my goodness!
Okay,
well,
he's got a Lotus Petal. He's gonna be able to pay the mana for it. So now he's got to find. All right, what can I do to draw more cards here? He needs to keep up a red source if he wants to drop an Emrakul into play.
Unbelievable. Let's just go back to Huey's turn. He played Show and Tell, the only thing he can do, hoping that Brad Nelson did not have an Emrakul in hand. He had to cross his fingers on that one. He drops his Emrakul. Brad does not have Emrakul, drops Gristlebrand, untaps, draws 7, doesn't find an Emrakul, draws 7 again, doesn't find an Emrakul.
He found a bunch of counterspells. In fact, I don't know that he found. There's a Brainstorm. I did see a Brainstorm in there.
Is he going to his discard step? What is
I'm not
he doing here?
sure. This is interesting because
He's
I think
organizing his
he could
hand.
still.
I think
He
he's
could
just
still see some cards deep. He's got that.
yeah, he's just
probe.
organizing what spells he wants to cast here, I think.
Yeah. So Brainstorm now on the stack, going to resolve.
One,
He finds a
sneak
sneak attack.
attack.
He finds a Swan Song, and he finds
another
a Gristlebrand. I
He's
think
already got a Gristlebrand at hand, and the one in play is a permanent off of the Show and Tell.
so. He puts 2 cards back there. He's going to play a fetch land. Now he's got to go to 2. Yeah, Brainstorm finished resolving. He's going to go to 2. He's looking to make sure he kept in the Emrakuls. And where are they? There's one.
So now
There's
at
another.
2 life, that takes Brad
There's
Nelson
another.
off of being able to use Phyrexian mana for the
2.
Gitaxian Probe. That's very important here as well. So potentially 1 fewer draw step down the line. Oh my goodness. I mean, Huey whiffed on how many? Was it three consecutive brainstorms and shuffles in between? And Brad Nelson here whiffing on 14 cards drawn off of Gristlebrand and a follow-up brainstorm. Yeah, correctly pointing out that the City of Traders is sacrificed off of the fetch land being played.
All right,
wow.
This is very intense here. We're in Game 3 of the finals of the Invitational. The StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational, coming to you guys live from Indianapolis. Brad Nelson, on the cusp of winning here, cannot find an Emrakul. He has drawn 14 cards and seen 3 further deep with a brainstorm and was not able to find an Emrakul. He is at 2 life right now. He's going to probe. He finds a brainstorm. He's going to go ahead and cast brainstorm and try to find more cards. Of course, he's shuffled his library.
Brainstorm.
Finds a brainstorm, finds a Gitaxian probe, and finds a Scalding Tarn. It is not enough. He's got to put 2 cards back. Gitaxian probe and brainstorm not going to do anything. He could brainstorm and see 1 card deeper, but he's played a land this turn. He's down to Lotus Petal. And I think Jensen actually just won that game. Oh my god.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that was...
And again, Brad Nelson has to leave the table because basically what he did to Brian Braun-Duin in the semifinals just happened to him.
And Jensen looking over and
Are you kidding me?
Kind of chuckling like, wow. Yeah, I mean, for one thing, on both, that just happened to both players. It happened to BBD in the semis. It happened to Jensen just there trying to counter that sneak attack after resolving multiple brainstorms and cannot find an answer to the sneak attack. Brad, of course, shuffling. You know, what did we get? Like 2 different shuffle effects, 3 different brainstorms.
For Huey?
So,
yes.
So Huey saw a ton of cards, couldn't find what he was looking for.
He had 3 lands. He cast a brainstorm with the volcanic island that was in play. Didn't find anything. Cracked a fetch land. Brainstormed, didn't find anything, cracked a fetch land, brainstormed, didn't find anything.
Yeah.
Had to let the sneak attack resolve, but at least use the days to force Brad to sacrifice the Lotus Petal so that he could not activate the sneak attack that turn.
Very smart play there so that it slowed Brad down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then another smart play on his own turn. He could have just given up and conceded, but he went for essentially the kind of the one outer, not quite one out, but he cast his show and tell. He had an Emrakul in hand, Huey did, and said, well, if you don't have Emrakul, if your monster is Gristlebrand, I still have a shot.
Right.
Very small shot.
Right.
Cast it, it resolved, he put his Emrakul down, Brad put his Gristlebrand down, so that went to, according to script.
Right. Yeah, so he plays to his pretty minimal outs there.
Play to your outs.
And that's how he played. He played the days to keep the sneak attack from being relevant for that one turn. He plays the show and tell also, thinking like, all right, so if you just played that sneak attack and you have a threat, then all right, you're gonna have a guy. And like you said, if it's not Emrakul,
yeah, there's only 2 possibilities.
I still have a way. And the funny thing is, the sneak attack ended up being entirely irrelevant because it never needed to be activated because, well, I guess it was relevant because Brad was looking for something. He was looking for an Emrakul to use the sneak attack with. Never found it, so it was never able to make use of that sneak attack at all.
And then on Brad's turn, using that Gristlebrand activated ability, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards.
Yeah.
Went to the well 1 time.
Nothing
7
there.
cards.
Yeah, no Emrakul.
Went to the well a 2nd time. 14 cards.
Casts a brainstorm. So he sees
3 more
17 cards, right?
17.
And
then he cracked a fetch land.
Cast another brainstorm, so that's 20
cards. Gitaxian probe, I think, right?
I think he did cast a probe.
21 cards.
Yes. I think that was it.
And a brainstorm at the end, maybe?
I think that was the 2nd brainstorm. He just saw
24 cards,
many cards. He saw over 20 cards either way. He saw over 20 cards, and none of them were Emrakul. That's the one card that he was looking for. I could see he at least still had 3. I imagine he kept all 4 in, but it's possible that he shaved one.
I think he's kept all 4.
I would assume. I just know that when he was cracking his fetch land, I saw 3.
Okay.
So wow. So Brad taking the quick break from the match, but yeah, we'll be right back.
It's hard to believe that this combo deck can have such dramatic moments like this.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of drama here at the Invitational in the top 8 so far.
The first 2 games, not very dramatic. It's like,
No, I mean,
I got
things
it,
played
you're
out
dead.
for one of the decks the way it was supposed to, and
but every once in a while you see games like that where by my count it looks like Brad, well, he had his draw for the turn as well, so 25 cards deep into his library he dug and found no Emrakul.
that's just wow. The odds.
Excuse me.
The odds of that. So, not only did Huey play to those minuscule odds, but those minuscule odds
Paid
off. Yeah, that paid off because that's exactly what happened.
These are the games you remember, Joey. I mean, you remember playing in them, and we will remember watching them. It has been such an emotional top 8 at the Invitational. In the quarterfinals, we watched BBD dispatch friend Jerry Thompson very easily in 3 games, and I got a little emotional because unless he, jumps into a booster draft, that was that was Jerry Thompson's last sanctioned match of Magic before joining Wizards of the Coast R&D, and I was just kind of thinking about all my memories with Jerry, meeting him for the first time. I remember all the tournaments I've seen him at, the tournaments he's won. Very emotional in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, emotions of tension. Brad Nelson and Brian Braun-Duin had a match, a game for the ages, a game 5 for the ages.
Yeah, that game 5 is something that I just can't wait to go back and watch it. The oddest thing is that, like, nothing happened, and that's what makes it so exciting, right?
The misses, yeah.
Right, it was just brick after brick after brick. You could build a house with those bricks. It was ridiculous, and finally, Brad, the first one to draw a non-brick, and that's it.
But I'll tell you, as a baseball fan, the game of baseball is very similar. You're hanging on every pitch. There's the pitch, and then it's a swing and a miss, and that's essentially nothing happening. But it's so tense and so exciting, and that release in that moment where you see the player swing and whiff, and that's what we've seen these players do repeatedly, swing and whiff, looking for answers or looking for solutions, looking for creatures, not finding them.
That analogy may make me appreciate baseball a little more. I'm not a big baseball fan. I grew up with just the Orioles as my only local sports team because we didn't have the footballs for the football team.
It's been a while.
And so it was, it's been a while for the Orioles, like you mentioned, but I've never really gotten into baseball, and I was at a Nationals game last year. I'm like, I'm going to try to get into this, and it was exciting for about 30 seconds at the very end of the game, and I was like, well, I don't understand why people like baseball because I just was bored the entire game. But that analogy to the Sneak and Show Game 5 Sneak and Show mirror from last round, if I think about it that way, that makes it a little bit more interesting.
It's very much the same. I mean, Huey Jensen on Brad's turn in response to the sneak attack, he basically had, it was the 9th inning, he had 3 outs, his 3 lands. And then Brainstorm, if you consider each draw step a strike, it's like strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. All right? That's 1 out down. And the next Brainstorm, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. And then you're bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. He brainstormed for the 3rd time, struck out. But then I don't even know what to say about what happened with Brad Nelson's turn. I mean, that was
well, he had several innings worth of strikes and outs.
Yeah.
I think there, but couldn't
find it. That was like
it.
Jose Canseco going for a ball in the outfield and it bouncing off his head and going over the wall for a home run.
I'm guessing
not to say that Brad made any mistakes, but that's just how epic that was.
Yeah, I don't know that Brad had anything. He was digging as deep as he possibly could there. Only mistake that he possibly could have made was that City of Traders, maybe floating mana, and before he played the land, but he couldn't have done anything with that 2 mana.
He needed
anyway.
blue mana, yeah.
Right, it was so it's not really a mistake exactly because I don't think it was actually at all relevant. If he found...
Okay, Brad Nelson. Let's go. Game number 4.
All right, number 4 underway here in the finals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational. Gitaxian Probe is the first play from Brad Nelson. We've got Through the Breach, we've got Red Blast, we've got Lotus Petal, Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest, and Brainstorm. So, again, the only counterspell available to Huey Jensen right now is Red Blast.
Now Brad Nelson is going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest, and looks like he's going to ponder here.
He could also go Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Sneak Attack.
He could.
But that's not what he's doing.
Chooses not to.
Yeah.
Chooses not to.
Chooses not to, since those cards aren't in his hand. So a ponder is the play from Brad Nelson. He does find a Sneak Attack there in the top 3.
And a Force of Will. That's very
Yeah.
good. From what we know, it looks like Brad Nelson's hand much more favorable right here.
He's got an Emrakul. He's got a Sneak Attack, I think, in hand. Did you see a Sneak Attack in his hand?
I think I saw
Yes,
through
there's
the
a
breach.
Sneak. Oh, it could be through the breach.
Joey, you're doing that thing again where you lean over to the side.
Yeah, trying to get an angle on the cards, but the screen is flat. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not 3D.
Not yet.
Yet, exactly.
Okay. Huey plays the Misty Rainforest and the Lotus Petal. 2 cards that Brad did know about. Off of the Jetaxian Probe. It's a fun card name to say, Jetaxian.
I always thought it was a hard G. Gitaxian.
Well, Jin
Gitaxius?
Jetaxis is what I call
I
it.
always said Jin Gitaxius. Well, they're not real words. I guess we can say whatever we want.
That's-
Scalding Tarn is the play from Brad Nelson.
You say that, and then one day the Core Augur will come get you for mispronouncing his name. Another ponder for Brad.
So Brad now the one
Look.
sculpting his hand, as we've seen Huey do in previous games. Of course, sometimes you just have no choice. You don't have the cards you need. You got to sculpt your hand. Huey now with a Lotus Petal alongside a Misty Rainforest in play. He can.
City of Traders. He's gonna play it slow though. He could go for it there, but
Yeah, Huey seems
Doesn't.
more patient.
yeah, he needs to use this brainstorm to sculpt his own hand and hold just in case he needs to dig for a counterspell. Although with his luck, you know, strike
Yeah.
1, strike 2,
It's either
strike 3.
his luck or it's Brad's, because Brad seems to be able to really keep his opponent off of drawing into counterspells or threats when they need them. So Misty Rainforest off the top for Brad. Right now, Brad has 2 volcanic islands in play. He's going to play a Gitaxian Probe here. Huey Jensen, 2 fetch lands and a Lotus Petal. 1 Scalding Tarn, 1 Misty Rainforest. We're going to see that Gitaxian Probe resolve. Red Elemental Blast through the breach. Brainstorm, Sneak Attack, and City of Traders are the
So
cards in Huey's hand.
new cards Brad did not know about are City of Traders and Sneak Attack.
Still just 1 actual counterspell in hand. It only counters blue spells, so it will force Huey to brainstorm into a counterspell if he needs to counter something like Sneak Attack. We saw how that went last game. Brad's going to go for it.
Coast is
Ancient
clear.
Tomb into Sneak Attack. Huey now has the option to cast a Brainstorm off of one of these fetch lands or the Lotus Petal. Looks like he's going to start by cracking a Misty Rainforest.
Yeah. He has to fight over this here.
I mean, Brad could just go Lotus Petal, and activate it, potentially. Huey doesn't know what's in Brad's hand.
Yeah.
There is no Lotus Petal there, but there is an Emrakul.
And at the very least, if he can find a Force of Will and force a counter war over the Sneak Attack, that may clear the way for Huey to try to resolve his own Sneak Attack on his turn. There you go.
Brainstorm.
Let's
Does
see.
Brainstorm resolve? It does. Finds a misdirection,
Misdirection.
finds a Brainstorm, and finds an
Wow.
Ancient Tomb. Not what he's looking for, but again, he finds a Brainstorm.
That misdirection is like a foul tip.
Yeah,
Like almost a counter
It
spell,
is.
but not quite what you need against Sneak Attack.
but again, we see Brad Nelson with the magic fingers being able to get his opponent to not draw what they want, but cannot stop them from drawing more manipulation spells like Brainstorms. So Huey still has a shot at countering this.
Oh, look at this. Chris on Twitter at CoolSucks, interesting name, has come up with the analogy that I needed. He struck out. This is talking about Huey, the 3 strikeouts. He struck out, Then the catcher dropped strike 3 and he got to first before being thrown out. That is a thing that can happen. Even if you strike out, if the catcher drops the ball, you can run to first, and they are forced to try to throw the ball to first and beat you.
Silly baseball.
Yeah. So it is actually, the record is 4 strikeouts in an inning, because you strike 3 people out and the catcher drops the ball and you strike the next guy out.
Interesting. What if he dropped the ball on that one too, and then somebody?
It's possible, but it has never happened.
Okay. So here's brainstorm number 2 for Huey, also resolving. Does he find a counterspell? I don't think he did.
No.
He found
Red
Sneak Attack
cards.
Scalding Tarn and threw the breach.
Bunch of red cards. Wow.
Yeah.
So now he is forced to put some cards back, but Brad Nelson, I mean, I believe we have not seen a Lotus Petal in his hand.
I don't think he has a Lotus Petal.
So Brad's going to pass back, and this has happened before. This happened in the last game where Brad resolved a Sneak Attack, but because of the daze, used up all of his mana and was unable to activate it, passed the turn to Huey, and then Huey struck back. Is he going to strike back again?
So yeah, again, Sneak Attack resolves. As you mentioned, Huey's turn.
And that Ancient Tomb, is that going to give him enough mana here to be able to fight over his own Sneak Attack? So Ancient Tomb, no, he's not going to have enough because Brad Nelson has a Force of Will.
All right, Scalding
So
Tarn,
no
go.
pass.
Draw is a Spell Pierce from Brad. Red mana, Emrakul, off of the Sneak Attack.
And
Swing,
that's
and
it.
Huey Jensen extends the hand. Brad Nelson wins the Invitational here in Indianapolis. 3-1. Sneak and Show Mirror. Brad Nelson is your StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational champion.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out if there were
Ladies
more
and
words in
gentlemen,
there. Wow.
Pick up your trading posts, pick up your Springjack pastures. The goats are coming to town.
The goats are coming.
Brad Nelson, your invitational champion and a champion of the card trading post,
Yeah.
will soon be immortalized as a goat token.